Why don't you tell me what your full name is? I know you as Rick, but what's your full name?
Richard John Mundy.
Okay, where's the John come from?
Oh, random.
Was that your mother's influence, your father's, or family, or?
Oh, that's a confirmation name.
Okay, all right. Any nicknames growing up?
Rick. Rick is the newest.
Now, tell me about your family situation at the present time.
Well, I'm married to Ann. We've been married now for 26 years. We have one daughter, Mary Ann, and she's 22 now. She'll be 22 this week. She's graduated from college, NYU, the Tisch School of the Arts. She graduated with honors, and her specialty is sound design and lighting for off-Broadway plays.
Ooh, isn't that interesting?
And yeah. When she was at NYU, the first year she was there, she was already on her own, going after school, going out, picking up little work things here and there, and she did that for 4 years.
So she's already built a network of experience.
Oh yeah, a very extensive network. Yeah, she has done the lighting for the show Papa, Ernest Hemingway.
Yes.
And her name was in the playbill for that. As far as because of what she did, she designed it and everything. And she's now doing her internship for Local One, which is the theater group. She joined the union 2 days ago. She was interviewed by a panel of 9 people, and she passed that. So she's now doing not her internship, she's her apprenticeship at the Metropolitan Opera House.
Oh boy!
And she'll be there for about another year, a little over a year probably. At which time she then is, on her own and doing union work.
I can see I can see the pride shining through.
Yeah. We have a lot to be thankful for.
Gee, that's wonderful. She is single, of course, at this point.
Yes.
Okay. So there are no grandchildren that I will be talking to you about.
No.
By the way, I can't get over how young you look. Sitting here watching you, you look like a kid yourself, in my eyes, at any rate.
Well, thank you.
You are beginning a whole new third of your lifetime here. How does that feel?
Very, very, very promising. Yeah. I use the word when I talk to Ann. My wife Ann's also retiring. She's retiring from a Dix Hill School District, Half Hollow Hill. She was a chemistry teacher.
And you've dovetailed your retirement, so that
yes.
Wow.
Yes.
What a plan.
Yeah, it was a good plan. It was a good plan.
So.
If one of us is retired and the other one is still working, it's like the retiree is not really enjoying life yet.
Yes.
So we are both very lucky with that.
Maybe I should say neither of you are retiring, but you're redirecting at this point.
Definitely so.
Yeah.
We've had an art business going for quite a few years, and it grew pretty fast, a little bit too fast maybe.
Really?
Yeah, I started my art business. I wanted to get a business going so that when I did retire from teaching, I wouldn't have to stop teaching and then begin a business. So we said, okay, let's start a business right now, and we'll have the two of them going on together. And as it turned out, the art was moving so far forward, we had to slow it down. We couldn't approach any more galleries because I was working, teaching full time. And if a gallery wants me to be over there tomorrow and drop off some more work or something, I can't do it. So we actually had to curtail that and hold back on the speed of that. And our master plan was to have that moving along fairly slowly so that when I retired, we could then pick up the speed.
Clearly the appetite was greater than you thought it was going to be for your work.
Yeah, that really went beyond our expectations.
Isn't that wonderful?
But it's nice. It's a little extra income. It's something we enjoy doing.
Great. Where did I know that clearly from what you've described your daughter doing and your pride in her success so far, her interest in the arts has, to some degree at least, been influenced by her dad. That seems to be clear to me. Is that the way you see it, or is it from some other source?
That's interesting. I don't see it that way because my talent is in the the visual arts, and hers is with lighting and sound, and not with the brush. So the creative spirit is certainly there, but she's going to emphasize it in different directions. It all started when we had her working for Kids for Kids. That is a young group of kids that put on performances, charge admission, and my wife did the costume work for them.
Oh.
And on occasion, I would help out with the set design and the scenery, cut plywood and make scenery. And she was in that on stage for a couple of shows, and she just didn't like being an actress on stage. She always wanted to be behind the scenes, and work with the cameras or the lighting.
End of it,
yeah, always. So she moved out of that, and she moved into more the sound. And then when she graduated from Ward Melville High School, she got accepted into the NYU tech track. It's not about acting at all or anything like that. It's technical work. And
interesting. Very interesting.
She really excelled at that.
I'm curious, and I would have normally asked you this later, but I want to ask you now. Is there in your family, on both sides of your wife's family and your family, are there any traces of other artistic proclivities or interests or talents that you
strangely enough, no, there doesn't seem to be. And of course, with my parents, as was the case of many parents of boys my age growing up, all they did was work. They didn't have time. That whole generation had no time to develop hobbies, or even sometimes to take vacations. It was hard work. The two of them had full-time jobs, and they had 4 children.
Yeah.
And it was just difficult. So if there was any artistic in my past, my parents or grandparents, it wasn't developed. There was no time to have it developed.
You know what's interesting about what you're saying is that many times students today think that they're the only ones that have had parents that have both been working and are gone all day, and like you say, don't have time to develop their own or to exhibit their own talents. But they're not the only generation that has had this experience. There are some of us have had the same. Some of our parents had the same experience. Where were you born?
In the Bronx. We lived in Parkchester, 2059 McGraw Avenue, and it was nice at that time.
Bronx was different then than it is now?
Yeah, but what happened was our parents decided to get a small little, really a cottage out in West Islip.
Oh.
And it was a very small house on Orinoco Drive. And we had the railroad right across the street from us. The trains always going by. It was just meant to be a small little summer house. And we would come out and watch the house get built. And the 4 of us thought that this was like, this is boondocks. This is great.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, this is really great. It was really country.
Yes.
Lots of woods and things. And they slowly came to the realization without telling us that they're going to have to move out there. And they did not plan that. That was just going to be only for fun. So when I was in the 5th grade, the family moved out to West Islip. And I went to St. Joseph's in Babylon. 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grades there. And
is that where you formed some of your earliest memories as a child, once you moved, or do you have memories that go back before that as a child?
I don't have really very, very strong memories at all of Parkchester. And I really don't have strong memories either of West Islip, of course, intellectually. Yes. But I think you're asking me about emotional feelings, I would think.
Not necessarily. I mean, sometimes photographs trigger memories. I remember that. If you look at some of the family photographs, you can remember things that perhaps, you're right, may have emotions attached to them, but not necessarily an event or something. But where did most of your early memories come from then?
Vacations in mountains.
Okay.
Vacations upstate New York, the Adirondacks. Primarily that.
Okay.
I can.
Were your parents both outdoors people, or did they enjoy the outdoors? Did they enjoy the mountains? Is that why?
No, I would not have called them outdoor people at all.
Okay.
We simply had, my mom's brother lived up in the Adirondacks.
I see.
And we have a lot of family up there in North Creek area.
Okay.
And as a result, the idea of a family vacation was pack up the kids, take the car up there.
I see.
And that was so neat.
Yes.
Just entirely different from what you see in the Bronx. Long Island, of course, is very nice, but you don't have the Adirondack Mountains. You don't have fast-moving rivers.
No.
So what we saw there, I really got that was a very important awakening in me, I think.
See, that's what I'm hearing as I talk with you about this, and I was trying to pinpoint where your talents are so magnificent in this area of looking at nature, and some of the artwork that you have, all the artwork that I've seen is so breathtakingly beautiful. And you must have been struck very early on by the beauty of these things.
Yeah, I do a lot of art shows. I just did one yesterday and Saturday, Huntington show. And people always stop by, they always ask, well, how long have you been painting?
Yes.
And I mentioned to them the story that when we lost both our parents, we had to go through the house and clean up stuff and throw stuff out and whatever. And we found my John Nagy book, You Are an Artist.
Oh, I remember that.
He used to be on television, and I would always sit down on the rug and watch the TV and watch what he was doing.
Yes.
And that copyright day was 1948 on that book.
Yes.
So I was born in 44. So I must have shown, for them to get that book, I must have shown some
very
artistic very early.
Mm.
And they had 4 kids, and I was the only one that got the book.
Okay.
So,
that was feeding something that was
yeah, there was
obvious.
something going on, yeah.
Wonderful. What was your mother's maiden name, her full name?
McConnell, Mildred McConnell.
And that sounds like it sounds Irish, was it? Or
Yes.
Irish? Were you, did you know your grandparents on her side?
On her side, no. On my dad's side, only his mother.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a strange quirk with the Mundy family. The fact that my mom and dad were very much American, and they did not like the illusion of ties to other countries.
I see.
For example, there was no, if we were asked what nationality is Mundy, American was the answer.
I see.
And one day I pursued that with Mom, and I said, Mom, yeah, American, I know that. We were born here. Yes, you were born here too. Dad was born here. But where did our ancestors come from? And it was like pulling teeth to get the word Irish and German
Is that right?
out of them. Yeah, it really was
Yes.
difficult.
Yeah.
So as far as our past is concerned with the heritage, family heritage, there was a lot that was lost.
Uh-huh.
But it was lost. There was a reason why it was lost. I feel it was lost because they just wanted exactly.
To cut the...
Yeah.
I think that was true of a lot of people of that generation. It certainly was true. I see it in my own family, where the identification was with America, and didn't even want to speak the languages of former, birthright or whatever, if they weren't English.
Well, my parents didn't know any of the language,
Yes.
nor did my grandmother.
I see.
So the family had been in America for a while, but how long? I don't know.
Yes. Yeah.
And what other countries are intermingled in the bloodlines?
Yeah.
Don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Well, your mom worked, as you said, she was of a different generation, of course, but what were her talents besides being a mom?
She was a nurse, a registered nurse. And she worked in Manhattan at St. Vincent's Hospital. And then when the family moved out to West Islip, she picked up a job at a hospital job for a while at Dr. King's Hospital, which is no longer there.
Uh-huh.
Then she picked up a job at Southside, and she worked there until she retired.
Uh-huh. Okay.
And my dad was a salesman for, he did a lot of things.
What do you do?
In the city, he was a fireman, New York City fireman.
I seem to remember talking about that sometime because I had that connection with you. Yes.
And on the side, he also was a painter, house painter. Then he worked for a while at a sporting store. Then he moved out here to the island and picked up a job at Sears Roebuck and became a salesman. and became a salesman for hardware and for paints.
So he must have worked in the department for 20 years, retired, and then come out and taken the job with.
He retired from the
from the New York City department,
and then came out here, retired, and picked up the salesman job.
Mm-hmm. What are some of your earliest memories of your dad?
A fisherman, but just intense devotion to my mother.
What a wonderful.
It was really, really nice.
That's great.
Yeah.
Was it just yourself and your mom and dad, or do you have brothers and sisters?
I have two brothers and a sister.
Oh, tell me about them. Name them and tell me, where are you in the birth line? You know,
I'm number 2.
Okay.
Only in the birth line.
Okay.
My older brother's Bernard, and we all live on the island, all 4 of us. And he is a firearms instructor. He works for Nassau County and trains policemen in the use of firearms. He works like that, probation work and police enforcement and stuff. He's 2 years older than me.
I see.
And he's married. They have no children. And my brother Robert is 2 years younger than me, and he is an investigator for the district attorney, and he works out at Riverhead. And both their wives are also probation or officers. Bernard's wife, Diane, is now retired. She retired from probation. And my younger brother, Robert, his wife, Cheryl, also works probation for Suffolk County.
Well, there's a heavy judicial system influence there in the family, huh?
Yeah, with law and order.
Law and order is right, yeah.
Then 3 years younger than Robert is my sister Joan. And she has 2 children. And she's a school teacher. She works at Half Hollow Hills also. Teaching social studies and topics like that. They have 2 children, and they live in Smithtown.
Was your older brother, a big brother growing up, or because there's only 2 years, it's almost like you're contemporaries? I know.
Yes, I never looked upon him as an older brother or a seer or someone who would have answers.
Because I was going to ask you if, along the line, you've learned things from your siblings. Are there certain things you can point to?
No, I can't say that, John. No.
Right.
No, it was just.
Or whether it worked the other way around. Have you taught them a thing or two as you've gone along? Do you think you've been a role model in certain areas?
No, I don't have that feeling. No,
okay.
No, I have the feeling of just.
They're going to get a kick out of my
independent.
They're going to get a kick out of my asking this question when they hear this tape. When you play this tape for them, I guess. If
I wonder how they feel.
Maybe you'll have a discussion about it afterward. Life growing up in your family, what was it like with your brothers and sisters and parents?
In Parkchester, we all had our own friends. There wasn't much of us playing together. We all had our own friends in Parkchester. That continued when we moved out to West Islip. So the expression I used before is equality.
Okay.
I never looked upon myself as being a role model to my younger brother, or just that we all lived our life in equality.
Yeah. Were there any adults outside of mom and dad that you could point to as having had a significant influence in your life or on your development?
Yes.
Who would that be?
My mother's brother, Walter, Uncle Walt, and to a lesser degree, his wife, Aunt Betty. They're the ones that lived up in the Adirondacks. And I greatly admired them. They had a very, very tough life. I naturally come out and admire people who have tough lives. It's like instinctive. The harder the life, the more I admire the people. They worked very hard during hard times up there. They had 3 boys, and they got all, and they lived in the woods too. A couple of miles off Main Road, and they just had a hard time. So they went into very heavily into the trapping, the hunting and the fishing
Oh,
and
interesting.
farming,
Yes.
and extremely self-sufficient. They raised everything themselves. So that's my mother's brother, Walter, and my mother's sister, Lorette. I can recall going to their apartment and walking in, and the first thing that Aunt Lorette would do is give me paper and pencils for sketching and things, and it kept me busy too.
I'm sure.
But she would always give out the paper and the pencils and the crayons, whatever,
Neat. Yeah.
and we would be occupied.
Yeah.
She was a very fine woman. She was like regal. She had a certain trait, and I found this trait in very few people. I think Jackie Onassis had it, and I think my Aunt Lorette had it. Mother Teresa had it.
Some pretty good
Princess
company
Di
there.
had it.
Wow.
And I can't right now think of any other characters, but I have my aunt in that particular
Isn't that
category.
wonderful?
Yeah, she was a very exceptional person. The power came from within. It wasn't power on,
Yes.
power base was not one of wealth. It was
Charisma, it sounds like.
it was a power of strength within personality.
How fortunate for you that you had someone like that in your life, that you had that particular aunt in your life too. Sounds like she also nourished your talent for whatever reason, keeping you busy, you say, but the opportunity to draw and to express yourself then. How did you happen to become a teacher? Who influenced? Was there a person who influenced that?
No, it was actually the subject matter.
Okay.
It wasn't, and it was just a subject matter.
Yeah.
I was just in love with nature and outdoors and animals and plants and things like that. And when I took biology in high school, I just said to myself, man, this is great. I really loved my material.
Yes.
And automatically, I said to myself, well, gee, if I love this, what's being done to me as a student, I have to just duplicate this particular life, just become a teacher.
So it clicked for you in high school, then? That's when you realized that this is what I'd like to do.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And there was no turning back on it. At that time, I figured, well, if I like biology, I could move into, I could then teach it.
Yes.
Now that I'm older, looking back, I say to myself, well, gee, you wouldn't have to be a teacher. You could be a forest ranger. You know, I could have spent a lot of more time outdoors
Sure.
in the Park Service rather than in a classroom.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very much an outdoor person.
I don't hear in what you're saying that you made a mistake, though, in what you decided to do. You're just saying you didn't realize there were other choices. You just chose to do what you ultimately did because that's what you saw as the option for you.
Looking back with hindsight, John, I'm not too sure.
Okay.
I'm not too sure on that.
Okay.
I do know, or I do believe firmly, that I was very good at teaching.
Mm-hmm.
I can say that because of the success I had with grades, the fairness I had, the hard work I put in, and the thank yous I have received from students and teachers and administrators too during the years. The flip side of that, though, is that possibly I would have been happier had I gone into artwork earlier or an outdoor activity. And my artwork reflects outdoors anyway. I'm a landscape artist.
Yes.
So that's an interesting question, and I'm not too sure that the conclusion was that.
Well, I hear what you're saying. My thought at this point is that I think everything that you've done so far has prepared you now to begin your life again in the direction that you wanted to take, with all of the awareness that your adulthood has given you, and now you're off and running in a whole new direction. It sounds like you're going to have an awful lot of fun down the road.
Oh, I'm going to have fun. There's no question of that. No question on what the retirement holds, the promise of the retirement. Yes. I find myself saying, though, that, well, gee, I started the serious professional painting 15 years ago.
Yes.
And I never ever took an art class.
Is that a fact?
In high school nor college.
Wow.
It was all education courses. So the flip side of the coin,
Yes.
from my point of view, is, my God, instead of going into high school biology teaching,
Imagine if
I had taken art courses in high school and college
I hear you
and
now.
become a professional artist at an earlier life.
Wow.
Because it is true to say that I did get pretty good with my artwork,
Yes.
and without any structured training, I just imagine what I would have been. You know,
Very interesting.
it would have been a different.
Really
It would have affected me entirely differently.
I dare say.
So,
Who were your friends growing up? Your best friends?
Dave Cooney, Sean Mahoney. I've lost track of them as the years go on, as the years went on.
Sure.
And I have some close friends now in the school district.
Okay.
I'm very lucky. I think the R.O.B.S building. I'm only familiar with the R.O.B.S building. I've never taught in Sonley, but I have formed some absolutely excellent friends in R.O.B.S building, and they're not friends which will, be forgotten.
Yes.
It's interesting. Some of these friends, you could not talk to or call up for months at a time, and when you finally got on the phone, it's like you were talking to them yesterday.
That's a friend. Yeah, really. Do you remember the room where you slept when you were a kid?
In Parkchester, I do. There were 3 of us in a room, but we were so small then.
Sure.
But I can recall that room, and I can recall the linoleum on the floor. Then when we moved to the small cottage in West Islip, I shared it was like 9 by 12 with my brother, and it was really, really, really small. Then eventually, as time went on, my dad had a whole new addition put on. It almost doubled the size of the house.
Oh boy. Yeah.
But that was well needed.
Yes.
It was a small house.
Yeah. Were there chores that you were responsible for taking care of?
No. No particular chores as far as a breakdown.
Right.
Simply all the work. That's interesting because these questions are having me come to that word equality among the family.
Yes.
And I wasn't aware of that until you're questioning. But
there were no assignments given. People just chipped in.
Because of number 1, 2, 3, 4. Instead, everybody just got the jobs done.
Got them done.
And it wasn't a question, well, you're the oldest, you do this, and the 4th is the lowest, the most menial task. It wasn't like that.
Okay. Indeed. Rick, do you remember the first paying job you ever did?
The first place?
Paying job.
Yes, I do. Yeah, it was the first one I got money for. I was in the 6th grade at St. Joseph's in Babylon. And at that time, every Halloween, the Chamber of Commerce would get the teenage kids or the young kids out of the schools. And on weekends, to keep us out of mischief maybe, they would give free poster paint. And we would paint paintings on the windows of the various stores.
Merchants, yeah.
Yes. And the Chamber of Commerce gave out awards and ribbons and things. And I remember a painting I did. It was from the John Nagy book, by the way.
Is that right?
Yeah, it was like a haunted house with fields coming down. And to balance the haunted house, one tree, a dead tree because it's scary.
Of course. Yes.
And some pumpkins around the field. So I had painted that on the window. And we won $50 for that.
Oh,
yeah,
big deal.
It was a lot of money.
Whoa, I'd say so.
That was a lot of money in those days.
You bet. Which of the holidays that your family celebrated do you remember as being the most fun?
I guess Christmas. Right off the bat, I'd say Christmas. Let me think. It really had to be Christmas.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's funny, looking back with hindsight, when my parents moved out to West Islip, my dad worked during the day at Sears, and my mother worked at night at the hospital. So it was like coming and going. My dad would drive Mom over she worked from 11 at night to 7 in the morning. So he would drive her over, drop her off, come back and sleep, get all of us up. go out, pick up Mom, bring her home. She'd spend a little bit of time before we all went to school. Then she would, clean up the house and do things and try to get some sleep.
Wow.
I lost track, John, of your original question. I'm sorry.
Well, we were talking about paying jobs, and then we were talking about holidays that were the most fun.
Yeah, so they were really just making ends meet financially. And we never looked upon ourselves at all. I never ever looked upon ourselves as being poor.
Yeah.
But looking back at the house, that was a small little cabin of 2 adults and a bunch of kids.
Yes.
Christmas came. We just thought everything was just fine.
Yes.
Looking back now with the the wealth that we have accumulated, all 4 of us now, each of the 4 children is much more financially independent than our parents ever were, which is amazing. Well, we were quite happy, and Christmas was nice, and the Christmas tree and the presents, that was the main thing.
Yeah. After school, what would be a typical afternoon for you? What would you do when you came home from school?
Strangely enough, it was academics.
Okay.
It was bring all those big, heavy books home, do all that homework, and...
do you have a place where you did your homework every day?
Yeah, you would just go into your room,
okay,
and just do it. But it was really, I was heavy into the academics and high grades.
Did you enjoy school?
Very much so.
Okay.
I did not enjoy civics, the civics course. I liked all my other subjects, to my knowledge. Civics just struck me as I didn't like languages. I took Latin and French and Spanish, and I didn't have that side of my brain. Can't handle that stuff. So that was terrible.
Okay.
That was just taking letters of the alphabet, shifting them all around. And now it has a new name.
Yes.
And
what kind of a kid were you? How would you describe yourself?
Quiet. Very much outdoors. Tremendous 100% effort in everything I did. I remember not slacking off on anything.
So you were intense then? You were
that's a good word to use. And I still am that way.
Yes.
In my artwork I am, and even in my teaching I am. Even last day I was teaching, we were reviewing, and we simply worked because that's why we were there.
That's right.
Hopefully my intensity when I'm camping and canoeing, hopefully my intensity is, I canoe intensely.
I'm sure.
But very, very focused.
Okay.
And 100% on that one task at work.
What was the first school that you attended, Rick?
High school?
No, the first school. The first,
it's
when you went to school
St.
for the
Helena's.
first time. St. Helena's.
St. Helena's in the Bronx.
In the Bronx, okay. And then when you moved out here,
it was St. Joseph's in Babylon.
St. Joseph's, and then you finished school there? Is it you went all the way through in Babylon? At St. Joseph's, I mean?
Yes.
Okay.
Then I graduated from there.
Okay. Now, you graduate and you do what from that point on? What about school after graduation?
Then I went to Archbishop Malloy High School.
Okay. You did mention this before. I remember you had said that. Do you remember, and do you have any memories that come back from any of those times?
As soon as you said Archbishop Malloy High School, yes, I thought of the fact that I was very good in the geometry. In fact, I was very, very good at it. And I remember they gave I had high grades because I worked so hard at all this stuff. And they gave a scholarship test for the freshmen that had high grades and qualified for it. And I recall the gymnasium was loaded with seats, and everyone was taking this test. And I was the last person to leave. I stayed the full 3 hours. And I checked every single mathematic question. And the teacher later on said, "I'm not supposed to tell you this, but I was worried about you because everybody else had left an hour sooner and you were the only one there." I said, I was checking everything so thorough. Don't you hate that?
No, I don't. I admire that. That's great.
So every question had to be right because it all checked out. So he said, I'm not supposed to say this, but you got every single geometry problem on the whole entire scholarship test right. And they gave a scholarship. They gave me a scholarship. And I was so proud to help out my mom and dad on that.
Oh, you bet. Yeah.
Yeah. That was nice.
That's a great memory. What are the other schools then? You worked all the way through your graduate work there, or?
No, I stayed for 1 year there at Archbishop Malloy. Then I went upstate to a place called the R.O.B.S, Marist High School.
I see.
And I went in for training for the religious life.
Ah.
And I tried that out for 3 years as a Marist brother. And it wasn't what I was looking for.
Mm-hmm.
But while I was a Marist brother, I was teaching biology, high school biology.
High school biology. Do you have any recall of some of your elementary school teachers, Rick, or high school teachers for that matter? Either some of the nemesis, or the favorite teachers, or your nemesis.
I remember the nuns; they were tough.
Yeah,
they were a tough bunch.
What order did you?
I guess they were Dominican.
Dominicans, okay.
But I remember they were like army officers, and I guess if they had 40 or 50 kids in the room, I forget how many we were.
Isn't that remarkable?
And they ran it with an iron hand.
Yes.
And whatever they said, we did.
Yes. Like drill instructors, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Had some of that experience myself. I can relate to.
Yeah, that was interesting.
When did you come to Brentwood?
I came in 1970.
How? How did that happen?
Well, I was looking for a job, so I put out a whole bunch of applications. Mm-hmm. But I was interested in there was a new school being built, and they had an opening for biology. It was a Farmingdale, I believe, and I toured the school. It was really nice, and I was very much interested in that job. But I was going out to Michigan for my master's degree. I was a member of the NSF program.
And what is that?
National Science Foundation.
Okay.
That's a program basically that the government poured millions of dollars into when Sputnik happened.
After 57.
And the government became very, very scared of the fact that we were falling behind in science and mathematics. Uh-huh. So the government made a program whereby science teachers science teachers in the country could go and get their master's degree and extra training at the government's expense. In fact, you received a stipend. They actually paid you even to go. Mm-hmm. So I was accepted to Michigan State, and I had to go up there for the summer. So I mentioned to Brentwood and I mentioned to the other school, look, I'm leaving. I have to hear from one of you. And as it turned out, Brentwood was the first one to get back to me. I remember coming and signing my papers, and I was gone the next day. I drove out to Michigan. So at least I knew I had a job when I got back.
And so that explains why you came also to Brentwood, and as well as when. Who interviewed you? Was that? Did you go through a formal interview process?
Yes, it was Dave Martz.
Okay. Remember anything jump out about that?
I liked
interview?
Dave.
Yes,
I liked him. He was nice. Herman Rosenthal was my department head.
Okay.
And I have a lot of very fond memories of Mr. Rosenthal.
Yes.
Henny was really nice. He was an excellent human being. I respected him a lot. He had his flaws, and he was the first to admit it. He was just real.
You worked with some nice people when you first came to Brentwood. I say that having been here at the same time, there were some wonderful people that we were privileged to know then and work with, and you've just mentioned a couple of them.
Yes, and there's still a lot of nice ones now in biology and other sciences.
What a great thing to say.
I'm able to leave Brentwood, the biology department, science department, and I'm in no fear at all about the department going under. Because I'm not around, no way.
Oh, that's
no, it's a nice feeling. There's some very, very good direction, some very strong people. Hard work is...
All throughout your career, which lasted how long?
Well, let me see.
You began in
70, I started here. So 28
28
years.
Throughout
Brentwood.
those 28 years, you have consistently taught what?
It's really been consistently biology,
Biology.
Regents and general biology.
So these are 11th and 12th graders.
10th graders.
10th graders.
Right.
Okay. Was there any period of time where you found yourself having to do a second job or take on another sideline job to support the family, or did you depend entirely upon your classroom?
I had my salary from school and my wife's salary also.
Okay, so your wife.
So there was no need to pick up. The artwork was simply because that was natural.
Yeah.
That was just a natural leaning.
That's a passion. That's
Yeah.
Some things we have no choice about, and that sounds like one of them for you, that you've got to do.
Yeah, there really is a time to retire from teaching. I've taught in this district 28 years, and I do have a feeling that it's time to close this book and open up another book and start a new chapter. But it's funny, I don't have that feeling with art. I can't imagine retiring from art.
Yes.
My eyesight will have to fail first.
Okay.
But I just, maybe when the time comes, I'll be tired of artwork and finally say, it's time to do nothing.
Well, I can't imagine you saying.
But I can't imagine going out west traveling and seeing something real nice, a nice scene, and not wanting to paint it.
Did the preparation, that your time, perhaps even your time as a Marist brother, and the time and the training that you received prior, the education courses that you received, did that adequately prepare you, do you think, for your teaching experience here?
Adequately, yes. But the training that people need when they come into the profession is not information you can pick up from a course. It has to be a love of the subject matter and a passion to let other people know all the things there is about the subject matter. You have to love the subject matter. And you want to you really have to be willing, not willing to, but you have the desire to let other people know the beauty you found in biology, in the microscopic world, and the beauty of the human body. If this stuff is not interesting to you, there's no way you can ever come across in any worthwhile way.
Well, I was just going to say, isn't it true that it's your passion for your subject that communicates that subject to the
I hope
students?
so.
Yeah.
I hope so, because I certainly had it.
Yeah.
The education courses that we took, granted, they gave me more and more college knowledge, and made me more aware of the beauty of the human body and plants and nature and this and that. But so little of that so little of that college information is ever taught. That's like almost for my private satisfaction. The high school level, which is taught, leaves so much of that out.
What it strikes me as being biology strikes me today as being a powerful metaphor for the way we are interpreting changes in all our systems. It used to be that we used computers and electronics as a metaphor for expressing things that were happening, but it seems today that biology has taken over the driver's seat. I mean, we talk about computer viruses, and you talk about growing the economy, and just I would think that a knowledge of biology and a passion for it would provide a great deal more awareness of things other than simply biology, life in general. But maybe that's just my take on it.
Well, I've mentioned, John, to my students that, of course, I'm prejudiced. I think all teachers are prejudiced about their subject matter.
Yes.
But I certainly was always saying to them over the course of the 28 years that biology is the most important course they'll ever take. I still believe that.
Yeah. Okay.
No matter what field anyone goes into, you have to have an understanding of how your own body works, about genetics,
Yes.
about your own child,
Yes.
why your child turned out that way.
Yes. Makes sense to me.
And the environment is the emphasis on the environment is so strong.
Yes.
Uh,
More than ever, I guess, and perhaps maybe that's the direction that we're headed. I don't know whether or not the present vice president will ever have more influence to direct, but I know his passion is for the environment and so on too. So, do you have contact with former students? Do people keep in touch with you, perhaps, or do you have any contact with students who have been in your class and gone?
Not too much. A couple, and I bump into them at art shows, which is interesting.
Okay.
They come by and they see me and they look at me, and I guess I haven't changed very much. But they say, Mr. Mundy, you probably don't remember us, but
Yes.
It's interesting. Some of them have gotten married, and they were in my class, and that's nice. And another one, David Bagno, is an outstanding musician.
Oh.
And yes,
so the connections are there. Sure,
yes,
sure. I'm going to try to pick up the pace of this a little bit because I know you have a commitment coming up. So I don't want to keep you from what is important ahead for you. Question about the BTA. You've been a member since you came to the district. Was there a period of time when you became active with it? Were you ever an active participant?
No, I haven't been.
Okay. No. This is not to put you on the defensive,
No,
I'm just trying to...
I'm not defensive at all, John.
Good,
no.
Good.
I don't feel that way. I'm
good.
No, I'm strong enough that attacks
Okay.
wouldn't matter.
Okay.
No, as a teacher, with the intense teaching I would do at 2 o'clock, when 2 o'clock came around, I was done in.
Yes.
I really never did home teaching or any extracurriculars. I would have to go home. Uh-huh. I was always that way. Yes. 2 o'clock. It wasn't a question of, well, I don't want to, I'm not interested. Rather, it was, I can't.
Yeah, exactly right.
And as far as the BTA goes, as far as being active goes, no. I always admired the organization strongly. Ever actively helped out? No, I always had my other job, my other full-time job.
Absolutely. Let's see. Well, it's 1998. This is the year of your retirement. And you will be you'll be going upstate, as a matter of fact, as soon as we finish this week. What's your plan for that?
Well, my wife and I both love the outdoors, and we have a canoe, and it'll be on top of our truck Thursday when we pick up the paycheck.
Great.
I'm going to pick up Ann, and we're going through New York City and up to Saranac Lake. Okay. It's the next town over from Lake Placid. It's pretty far up. And the first night we're going to spend in a motel because we'll be getting up there late.
Yes. And
the next 7 nights in the woods.
Wow.
We camp in the woods and we canoe around in Portage. Uh-huh. And we also do fishing from the canoe. We kind of fish for our dinner.
Okay.
And once in a while we get lucky and we catch some rainbow trout or brookies. And we cook them outside in a wood fire. Oh, it really is. You can't live better than that.
Yeah, I would say so.
It's really neat. Our favorite camp spot is Little Green Pond. There's no electric or anything in there, so it keeps the crowds out. And it's wild. You hear loons all night. And there's an osprey nest on the lake. They come back every year. And the baby's there. The baby is already born. And when we go up this Thursday, the baby will be squawking its head off when the mother comes back with a fish. And there's no motorized vehicles allowed on the St. Regis. It's a St. Regis River. So everything is quiet. You either hike in or canoeing.
Are you going to bring a camera or a sketch pad? How do you deal with the things that you see or that you want to capture?
Actually, I don't bring the camera.
Okay.
And most of the time, I don't bring the sketch pad.
You don't? Okay.
No. That's interesting because at major events, I'm one to leave the camera behind. I was just at my own retirement, the BTA. I didn't have a camera and this and that. And family events. My own daughter's graduation from NYU. Now, my wife brought her camera. I didn't bring mine. The way I work is I don't want to be fidgeting around with settings
Okay.
at a wedding or something.
Yes.
I want to sit there and memorize the moment.
Okay. Oh, and you do,
And-
obviously. Wow.
And I even when I'm canoeing, I can memorize spots pretty well.
Okay.
I can visualize them for a painting. And I'd rather memorize the moment of a ceremony going on and just be aware of every word, every look, rather than you have a photograph of something. There'll be enough pictures on these events
Yes. Okay.
taken by other people.
Okay. What are you most proud of after 28 years of your
My
professional
marriage, my strong marriage.
That's wonderful.
I've always believed that people put in a lot of time planning for their retirement financially, planning on hobbies and things. I feel that many people don't put in, maybe I'm not fair in saying this, but don't work hard enough at putting in the time to guarantee the marriage. That has always been, the money has not really been all that important. Of course, I love money.
Mhm.
But if push came to push, whatever, all of that would go to keep Anne and be close to Mary Ann.
Great.
I'm one of the lucky people. I just happen to be lucky. I just married my best friend.
Oh, man. That
And
is
I'm
great
just a
stuff.
lucky person. And she enjoys the same things I enjoy. And I greatly respect her.
What are you going to miss about active service?
My friends.
Okay.
And there's no kidding myself either. Because I know how I am. I just move on. I also understand that when I come back after 3 or 4 months to see my friends, I have to be aware of the fact that they're walking down the hallway fast because they're going someplace.
Yes.
They have dittos to run off.
Absolutely.
I remember when I was in the hallway and I would see a friend of mine who retired, and I would love to talk to him, and I'm saying to myself, but I need this for third period.
Yes. That's right.
So when I come back, I'm very much aware of the fact that my visits are going to have to be frequent but shorts.
Yes.
Little short visits, hello and wishing wells.
You're a sensitive guy and very, very aware of these realities, because that's the reality of being
Yeah,
an active.
I can't kid myself
Yeah.
and think I'm going to sit down and we're all going to have a 40-minute chat.
That's right. Yeah. Is there anything that you would like to have accomplished, Rick, that you either didn't or couldn't?
Yes, oh yes, especially the word couldn't,
Mhm.
and not capable of.
Mhm.
And that would be a change in the students' lack of drive and lack of motivation. I tried so hard to cause a change in that,
Yeah.
and I don't believe I really did. I think the people that came into my classroom who were motivated stayed that way, and the ones that were unmotivated were not changed very much. That really has troubled me for many years. The fact that a failing grade is acceptable, that the course can be taken again next year or in summer school. That's a dangerous attitude. If a young person at the age of 15, 16, 17 is willing to repeat a year, it's no big deal to be left back. When they're finally out and they're finally doing things at 25, they finally are married and they have a child at 24, 2 children at 27, and their wife has a job. Wherever they are at that age, wherever their kids are at that age, they could have had that wife and those kids in the same job a year earlier. They could have had an extra life tacked on. I think young people throw away a year of school life like it's no big deal. And I look down the road and say that's a year. Picture yourself married with 2 kids. Now give yourself an extra year of that fun.
Time has a different value, though, when you're 16 years old. Or when you're on the verge of leaving your profession. There's a very different value assigned to the time, I think. Perhaps it's your experience that gives you benefit of being able to look at it that way. Teenagers think they can live forever. They got all the time in the world. Is there anything that I forgot to ask you that I should have asked you, or something we should have talked about, Rick, that we didn't? There's probably a dozen things, but I don't want to.
No.
Okay.
No.
No.
I would like to say that I always felt that the BTA was always very, very good. I felt our union was always fair to me. I always felt, and amazingly so, that our school board, the Board of Education, is really concerned about education and has treated the union fairly and vice versa. I think the relationship between the administration, central, the school board, the teachers, the unions, it's a very harmonious situation, I think.
We've been very fortunate.
Yeah, absolutely. I've told young teachers that that this is a very, very good district to work in. I've always felt I've been treated fairly.
Yeah.
And if unfairly, it's only been because of one individual or two individuals. It's not an attitude in the district. So I think it's a very, very good district to work in. A little bit disappointed that within the district I could not have motivated, more people.
I think that a teacher affects eternity, right? You know that we never know where our influence stops, and you may have affected profoundly more people than you are even aware of. So don't sell yourself short.
Well, I have letters in my attaché case, even as we speak, that students send back to me, thanking me, and it really is nice. They mentioned the fact that they never said anything, never thanked me, and never said anything. And normally the letters are from people in college. College seems to be the time when they write back to me and thank me for the work I've done. And those letters are cherished. Those are special.
Speaking of thanking, it's time for me to thank you for giving us the time, for opening up and sharing so much of yourself and your life with us, and for 28 years of loving and giving service on behalf of the district. Thanks.
Thank you very much, John.
Thanks.